I have Simon Jordan. We having a great conversation today that I know you want to hear. Be that fly on the wall and hear us talk about value-based marketing. We want to talk about value-based branding, and you may or may not have heard of it, but it's in a way that is definitely exciting. Simon, thanks for coming on this show.
A pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Great. And let's continue this conversation. We were talking about value-based branding.
Yeah.
First of all, let's go ahead and talk about what it is, because some people, throw around terms and they may not fully understand what it is.
Sure. Yeah. So I think value-based branding itself is very, very simple. It's very basic. And when you a lot of people like yourself, Jeff, or other people in marketing I know are actually actively participating in value-based branding, and that is essentially that you're saturating your social media profiles and your digital assets with value to your target audience. Okay, and by doing that, you're building a relationship and a community, and you're developing a community of people who know you, who like you, and who trust you. And if you lead with value all the time in the content that you put out, whether you're a service or a product, or you're selling a course, or you've got an agency, whatever it is you're doing, if you lead with value and you give your audience something that is actionable, can help them, that they can use, whether that's information or special offers or free stuff or whatever. But if you always lead with value, you build that community that know you, like you, and trust you. And eventually, when you go to make an offer, they're going to buy it, right? And so that's the idea. It is leading with value all the time, building that community. And when it comes to the offer, you've got your whole community that are ready and willing to buy from you. So the conversions at the end of that are higher and easier to get. So we can break that down, over the course of the conversation, because that's a very sort of basic overview. But yeah, so I'll let you sort of pick apart some of the questions inside of that, and then we can.
Definitely. And I'm excited to see what this strategy is and breaking it down. One of the questions I know that I have, and hopefully I'm touching the questions of the audience as well, is how do you decide what's valuable based on your audience versus based on what you feel is valuable, especially when you're in old school frame of doing business, of marketing, where it's more push, and you're just going to force down somebody's throat your message. So the value really is what you think is valuable, which of course I tell most of my clients, you are not your customer. So for what's valuable to you, which you feel you're too close to the product, you know everything about it, or the service. So how do you gauge or find out what's really valuable to the audience and provide that information?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad you asked that, because value is relative. So value is, it's relative to what your niche is and who your audience are. So what's valuable to somebody if you've got if you've got an Instagram account of 1 million followers for funny memes, then the value to that audience is going to be humor. It's going to be right. But if you've got, for example, a product, let's say you've got we specialize in the CBD niche.
Okay.
We work with a lot of CBD companies and companies in the cannabis space. And so value there is information, because there's so much misinformation around CBD, cannabis, how it's used. Is it healthy? What's the difference between THC, CBD? So value there is information, and it's and again, it's relative. Like if you're a mechanic, right? If I was talking to a mechanic, run of the mill, how many mechanics are in your town or your area? There's probably, more than a dozen, more than 30. I don't know. But if you were a mechanic and you were saying, well, what is the value? What could you put onto your social media profiles that's going to be valuable to your target audience? Well, he could show himself changing a tire, or changing a spark plug, or fixing a head gasket, or doing these kind of things where people are going to search YouTube or whatever, and that mechanic is going to get all the damn business in his community forever, because he's going to be the guy, the personality, the face, the authentic voice in his niche, giving what his audience want. And so that's what it is. Value is relative to every niche, and you just have to figure out what it is your audience need. And that's easily done if you know your customer.
Okay. And now let me piggyback on that. I love what you just said about the auto mechanic, because I have an auto mechanic in my area, and I'll give him his shout out right now. It's S&J Automotive, but it's Walton 5982 on Instagram.
Okay.
Interesting story about this. Now, I have taken my car to him before,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden I started getting these inspirational memes on Instagram from Walton. And so, not knowing who he was, I followed because they were inspirational, they were good, they were really good posts.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts sprinkling in him working on cars. Now, I'm a car fanatic. And so he's working on different type of cars. And I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of neat. Okay, he worked on this Porsche truck. He worked on this. He worked on that. Oh, that's kind of neat. So he's a mechanic. So now I know who he is. Because at first I didn't. I just thought he was just one of a million people giving inspirational quotes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I started saying, oh well, he must know his stuff about cars. It wasn't until I actually followed his bio link that I found out that he was a mechanic around the corner that I've been to before. And I was like, that's great. Now my loyalty has increased because I'm like, not only is he a good mechanic, he's a good overall person. I like him as a person. Now it's different. It's more of a bond. And it just became because he provided that value of information. And he didn't always have a value of information about how to fix cars. It was just like, all of a sudden, I found out, oh, he fixes cars. Oh, he does know what he's doing with fixing cars. Now I trust him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great case study in regards to that.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. It's funny that you say that, because even though he wasn't putting out value specifically around, the maintenance of a car or fixing a car or doing anything with a car, he hit you with value that was relevant to you. And then from that, you discovered him and you had that extra trust relationship with that service provider. So you will now choose that service provider over others, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the power of using social media in the correct way. And it's an advantage, I think, personally, that small, medium-sized businesses, solopreneurs, these kind of people, it gives them a level playing field to compete with large corporations with massive marketing spend. Because, and I'll say this from experience, because we work with some massive CBD companies who have unlimited marketing spend, but do not use social media in the correct way. They post pictures of their products and they pay influencers thousands of dollars, but they're not building a community. They don't have an authentic voice, a face, a personality. They do not give value. They don't lead with value. They simply post pictures. They do the same stuff you see most products on their page, giveaways, lovely pictures, and it's all nice and pretty and everything, but nobody really gives a damn. Nobody's there because there's a community. They're there because maybe there's a giveaway here or there, or because the brand is big, or because an influencer shouted them out. But it's not authentic. It's not real, organic growth through value, right?
So they basically do 90s level advertisement, or I'll say prior internet advertisement, where
exactly.
I'm gonna just push my message in your face over and over and over again.
Exactly. And they will throw ungodly amounts of money at any sort of ad campaign without that understanding that, look, social media, this is not radio, it's not TV, it's not, the Super Bowl halftime show. This is not what it is. This is a real living, breathing, this is humans communicating, right? And if you can build an authentic, value-based voice where you're not asking for anything, you're just leading with value and building a community of people who appreciate that value and expect value and get that value. But then when it comes to the sale, you don't even have to ask. I mean, you just it's done. They're sold because they've gotten so much value. So, and there's a saying in value-based branding, you basically, the amount of revenue that you generate through your social media profiles is directly proportional to the amount of value that you put out. So the more value you put out there, the more revenue you're going to get, and it's a slow game. I appreciate that. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to build that content, be consistent, and make sure you're leading with value. But eventually it clicks, and it's a waterfall, it's a flood, and it's, and you also have that added satisfaction of really giving value to your target audience, really providing something that is valuable to them and they come back for all the time.
Okay, I'm gonna call you Morpheus because you are definitely breaking down the matrix. How do you help companies deprogram themselves and to operate in that vein?
So that's another great question, and that's something that we actually struggle with because we work with all kinds of companies, right? We work with small solopreneurs and small entrepreneurs with service businesses and e-commerce stores, and we work with large corporations in the CBD industry, right? And the difference is chalk and cheese, right? The large corporations do not understand what it is we're telling them to do, right? And we're and they don't want to do it. They come to us, they come specifically to us to run their paid media campaigns because we can run paid campaigns for CBD is notoriously difficult, almost impossible. And we have protocols and procedures in place that we can do it. So that's why they come to us. They do not come to us for the social media side of things, but we're telling them, hey, listen, if you like what we do on paid, we can do an awful lot for you on our organic social media. Like if you just listen and lead with value, and it's very difficult. But when we talk to the small business owner or the local garage or the small e-com store, like from their perspective, they listen, they take it all on board, and they're ready to do it, and they're ready to work, and they're ready to go. So there's it's not difficult to convince small businesses to go with it. It's very difficult to convince large corporations to do it. Some large corporations do a good job, but it's just so tempting to, when you've got all that marketing spend, to just throw it at an influencer or throw it at, whoever, Conor McGregor or whatever, just say, hey, Conor, shout out my muscle bomb, and that's easy. It's less work, but so it is hard. It's hard with the large corporations, but with the smaller ones who are willing to take on anything to compete, we've seen incredible growth. So I'll give you one example, if you don't mind. So we had a client who was an accounting firm, a small two-man team, or one man, one woman accounting firm, and they were specialized in accounting for cannabis businesses, which is very complex type of accounting. And they had a course, and this course was a high ticket course. You're talking about $7,000-8,000. And this course was going to train CFOs and accountants how to do accounting in cannabis and then build their own cannabis accounting business, which is very, very lucrative in comparison to just normal businesses. So they had this course, and we employed the value-based branding system for them, right? Nobody knew who they were. We were talking to, an audience of accountants who aren't, it's not the most exciting thing to be posting on social media about, right? Yeah. So we had to come up with a way to create engaging, valuable content around cannabis accounting that we could build an audience, a targeted audience from people in the accounting space, people who are studying accounting or working for accounting firms or whatever. Long story short, we saturated their social media channels with value-based branding. What we did, the first step was to get them to start creating Facebook Lives. Okay. So they would go live on Facebook, they would speak like we're speaking now, and they would take a topic and start explaining it, right? As if they're talking to another accountant. We would take that video from Facebook and then we would chop it up into smaller pieces, right? For Instagram, for Twitter, for Facebook, for all their, so we create this digital asset library from one video and a podcast. Okay. And we saturate every single channel with that value, and we start building this audience, and we never ask for anything. It's just value. We then take the highest performing organic post, so the post that gets the most likes, most engagement, and we start promoting that, right? We start promoting that on Facebook with Facebook ads, and we're not asking for anything. We're asking for nothing. We're just posting a value post, and we're targeting an audience. We're paying pennies to get this seen by thousands and thousands of accountants, right? Because you can laser target on Facebook. You can find your accountants, giving them value. So, and from there, we take the people who watch 25% or more of that video, and we throw them into the warm bucket. And then we start running ads, more value ads, no offers, no nothing, just value ads to that 25% of warm audiences. And we do the same thing again. We find those and that warm audience who engaged, who liked, and we move them over to the conversion bucket. And in the conversion bucket, that's then when we start to show an ad, right? That's then when we start to say, hey, did you like all that free stuff? Did you like all the information? Did you like us? Did you like everything? Here's a course, right? And then the conversions from that, long story short, in 1 year, we made over $2 million in sales from that course. And those two accountants now have the biggest cannabis accounting agency in the world. And, and that was all from value-based branding, which started with two people that nobody knew.
Wow. That is a great case study. How long did that take? Was it more of a year, 2 year?
Yeah, it took 14 months. What really blew it up, I think, was in the US, for example, there was a lot of mainstream media attention on the cannabis industry.
Okay.
And there was a lot of mainstream attention on some of these businesses that were being audited and crucified by the tax officials in the United States. So it got a lot of attention, and they started getting noticed as authorities in the space, and they were brought onto mainstream media channels to talk about these things. And so that really started to blow them up. But I firmly believe that it was the value-based branding strategy that got them noticed, that got them in the eyes of the mainstream, right? So, and this can be done for any business. It's applicable to anything, especially if nobody knows who you are, especially if you're small. It's, like I said, the larger corporations, they don't want to do it yet. They'll come around eventually, I'm sure. But like for small business owners, for, people just starting out, for entrepreneurs who want to know how to gain traction in their business, that's the way. That's the way. It's
it's interesting that you say for the larger companies, they don't want to change. But a lot of that, whenever I consult with the larger companies, I've realized that in their circle, first of all, they're trying to break years of habit. I mean, they have decades of habit, and it's changing their way of thinking. And then second of all, a lot of times I did a piece called Chasing Amazon. They are chasing people in their, I would say, their peer group. So since nobody else in their peer group's doing it, they're not going to want to be innovative and be the first to do it, because they're saying, well, Walmart's not doing it, Amazon's not doing it, we're not doing it either. Because if they're not doing it, it must not work. Yeah. Versus like taking that, we'll be the first to do it, and now everybody's chasing us. Where a small business, they have nothing to lose in a sense. They're sort of like, we don't know what to do. We don't have a model that we've been doing for years, and of course with the big machines, I always say when you're dealing with bigger companies, the beauty of a small company versus a big company is you can change fast. You can change anything overnight. A big company, you have so much red tape and politics, it takes a quarter for you to change anything. So that's 90 days for you to make any type of change in your business.
Yeah.
So, that helps. But once the bigger brands start to realize it, they'll start chasing that brand. Just like with Amazon. Once Amazon started doing things different, before doing digital 2-day shipping, and you're doing just this digital commerce, companies were like, we're not doing that. Now it's sort of like, if you're not doing digital commerce, you pretty much go ahead and start your bankruptcy now. I mean, you're about to go out of business.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen a lot of that recently, obviously with everything that's going on in the world right now. Retail has taken a huge hit, like a massive hit. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're not pivoting to e-commerce, you're going to lose, right? Because the future is e-commerce, and that's not going to change. People suddenly are in this position where, let's say, old Grammy there, who's 78 years old, has always gone to the same store, but suddenly she's shopping online because she has to. And suddenly old Grammy says, like, I kind of like this shopping online. And suddenly all these people are online now. And we've seen the statistics, the market statistics are just, it's like Black Friday every day online, because everyone is buying, you're buying your underpants, your shoes, your socks. I mean, everything you're shopping, it's all online now. So if in March, we saw a lot of businesses that we work with get scared, right? They got scared and they started cutting spend and cutting. They say, okay, we got to batten down the hatches till this is over. And then a few weeks later, they realized, okay, no, that's a bad tactic. We need to put everything into e-commerce. And those that did that are winning. Those that went straight ahead, were brave and said, no, people will go online. People will still buy the products. People still want them. Let's pivot from retail and grow our e-commerce section. And they did that, and they won. They won. And so every business, and you're right, any business that is not, that is not focused on the e-commerce side of their business is going to lose.
Yeah. Now, here's another question, another challenge that I've seen when it comes to value-based branding. When you're talking with the CEOs or the business owners, and they aren't used to being in front of the camera, they aren't used to being the talent. Yeah. How do you help them overcome that challenge? Because I've noticed that a lot whenever I recommend doing videos or social media posts, and they're like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to be in front of the camera, or it becomes too complicated. How do you help them get out of that box?
Yeah, so that's a question. It's an answer I'm still working on getting. But we have done it. I mean, we have tried. And you're right, because the CEO of a massive CBD brand in the US doesn't want to be going on Facebook Live. He's got a lot of things to do. So the answer is simple. It's to dedicate or delegate a brand ambassador. Somebody that can talk well, that knows the products, that is not necessarily comfortable in front of the camera, but somebody, because it's such a low cost endeavor. It's really costs nothing to their bottom line to get somebody to do that. But the rewards for doing it and doing it consistently are so massive that it's really, really silly for them not to do it. So what we do we have currently one, I would say, big corporation that are actually starting to do this now. Okay. And what we've done with them is we've simply had them delegate somebody to go on Facebook Live, talk about the products, give value, right? Explain to customers what they do, how they help, how to use them, how best to use them, when to use, all these different questions. And what we do on our side is we research their audience, we research the questions, and we send it to them. We say, okay, guys, this week, your Facebook Live, you're going to talk about this, 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 and this. And that really helps them, because they go into the live feeling like they have some ammunition, right? Yeah. They have something, and they're not going to be, because it's a lot of it, and this goes for small entrepreneurs as well. There's that fear inside of you to get on in front of a camera and start talking about what it is right? Yeah. Because you've got this voice inside your head saying, I'm going to mess up, I'm going to say the wrong thing, I'm going to run out of things to say, blah, 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 blah. And there's no easy way of saying this except get over yourself. Right? Okay. Get over yourself, get on, and two or three videos in, or 2 or 3 times you've done it, you're going to actually start loving it. You're going to start, and you're going to get audiences coming into you. That's the beauty of Facebook, is Facebook algorithm loves live. It loves it. And Facebook it's the only organic form of posting that Facebook is actually going to help you get engagement with. Anything else is a waste of time, but Facebook loves live because it enables Facebook to keep people on its platform. And also, people love lives. People love to go, oh, look at that business. I'm going to jump on and see what they're talking about. And then you start getting the engagement while you're live. And so suddenly, a 15-minute video that you had your script ready for turns into a 45-minute video because people asked you questions. And you've got this content just organically growing, and it becomes a really fun thing that business owners really look forward to doing, because it's building that community, that authentic voice of your brand, your business with value. And then they're just, when it comes to selecting a product in your niche, a competitive product, they're going to go with yours or your service or your course because they know you and they like you and they trust you. And so that's the key. Know, like, trust. That's what it's all about, really.
Oh, cool. So let's jump into this strategy. So if you were to, let's say, because you already gave 2 strategies. I don't know if anybody's caught it yet. If you have, please type in the comments that you caught the strategies, because he's already given you 2 strategies up front. Yeah. But if you were building this out, so let's say you're starting with a company and they're like, we don't know where to start. What would be your strategy for them? Or what would I would say be your best strategy, your go-to strategy?
Okay. So if we're talking about a new company that has no credibility, no audience, I mean, there's nothing, right? So we're just starting with a company that has a product or a service, and you know they want to grow their social media, and they want to make sales through social media. They want to brand themselves on social media, and as a consequence in mainstream and other places, right? So the first place to start is obviously with the content. So you have to start with the content. You have to break down, okay, who are your audience? What is relatively valuable for them, and how can we start producing that value on a consistent basis through video, and not just video. We can use still posts and infographics and things like that. But I appreciate that a lot of business owners are on a budget, and so if we were to do something that is free today, that's going to get results, it's right. Start sitting in front of a camera and talking about what you know,
Okay.
or you know what your product is, and giving that value to your audience. Now, you're right. That is the first part of the strategy. Then that's the part that's free, right? That's the free organic posting videos, content side of things. As long as it's valuable, that's it. The second part of the strategy is paid, right? But it's relatively cheap because we're not paying for conversions, right? When we're paying for ads on social media, conversions are what cost money, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we're paying for views, video views, which is cheap as chips, right? It is nothing. And when you consider the amount of money that people will pay for a radio ad or a TV spot or all these kind of advertising platforms that cost so much money, and we have this amazing tool at our disposal in Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media platforms. And if you're targeting video views, I mean, you can get those views so cheap. You're talking about a couple of dollars a week, right? Let's say you're willing to spend $20 a week to get thousands of views on your video, and you're targeting, let's say your business, like we discussed earlier, is a mechanic. You're targeting, I don't know, car owners, or whatever your audience demographic turns out to be, right? You're targeting those people, you're serving them that value, and like I said, you're taking your organic posts that are just giving value, and you're turning them into an ad. Not an ad, but you're serving that to your target audience by paying for the views. So, and again, you're just giving value. It's just value. And Facebook is learning who your audience are. It's learning who's engaging, and you're growing like all those views, all those clicks, that audience that you're driving to your valuable video. They're spilling over into other assets, into Instagram, into YouTube, into whatever other assets you have. And you're growing your brand, you're growing your community. And like I said in the beginning, that strategy then turns into conversions, right? So you go with your paid ads, you start with value, and then you track the people that are most engaged, and you start to put them in a warm audience pile, right? People who are consistently watching your stuff. So you know who the warm audiences are. And then after that, you move them into the conversion pile, and that's where you make an offer, right? Where you say, come down to Joe's Mechanic tomorrow and get your head gasket fixed, or whatever it is you're doing, right? But it's that conversion ad. And so it's like Gary Vee always says,
right hook.
Exactly. And that's what value-based branding is. It's jab, 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 right hook, right? So, and you have to be consistent. You can't, after you've done your conversion, like you've got your conversion ad going, you still got to put those people who converted back into receiving value, right? You just got to be consistent with that value all the time. And as long as you do that, I mean, the rewards are really spectacular, and the possibilities for any kind of business that is willing to sit in front of a camera and give their value. Anybody that's willing to do that can compete. That's the brilliant thing about value-based branding.
Okay, so that's a real good strategy, and it's what is it? I always get this messed up. It's easy or it's simple. I always get it mixed up. They're like, it's easy, but it's not simple, or is it simple, it's not easy, something of that nature. But it's not hard to do. Let's put it like that. It's just you have to commit to doing it.
Yeah, the only barrier between you and success with this strategy is yourself, really. It's because people are, if you're not willing to get on a camera, or you don't have somebody as a brand advocate who's willing to do that, then it's not going to work. Because video is what people are engaged with most on social media, and they're engaged with authenticity, right? So don't try to be anyone. Don't look at Gary Vee or Grant Cardone or Frank Kern or from a marketing perspective. Just be you, right? Be you. And whether that's good or bad, your audience will find you. The people attracted to you will find you eventually if you're just consistent. That goes for anything. Whether you're a mechanic or you've got a brand or you've got a course, whatever it is, don't try to be anyone except yourself. And if you're consistent with that and you're authentic, then the right people will eventually come to you. And like I said, the only barrier to success is yourself, is actually getting on the video and being consistent. That's it. Anyone can run Facebook ads. Anyone can post on social media and do these things, right? Or you can get somebody on Upwork to do it for you, right? But only you can sit down and speak your value and be your voice, and that's the key, really. That's it.
Now, do you have a process with getting that authentic voice, getting them out of their heads and say, okay, put all these other competitors or peers to the side, and this is your voice, or this is how you find your voice? Because I know that can be difficult when you start looking at their success, or looking at their numbers and saying, well, I want to be. Because I remember when, prime example, I'll give you an example. I love giving these analogies. Gary Vee, we talked about. I remember prior Gary Vee, you talking about marketing and business had to be politically correct, very polished, and so forth. Now everybody's cursing, everybody's t-shirt and Scully, everybody's just like, I just don't care, I just It's funny because prior Gary Vee, you didn't hear that. Same thing with like Eric Thomas. Prior Eric Thomas, you didn't have the motivational speakers that were like a coach yelling in your face, very, very high energy. Now, they may have been high energy, but not to that extent of just, I'm just your boy at the basketball court. We're just going to win. It was more of another type of structure. I think you would say probably a Tony Robbins type of structure. So how do you get people to say, you know what, I am now being true to myself, my authentic voice, versus I'm just emulating somebody else that I feel is successful?
I mean, that's another good question. And I wish I like from our point of view, when we work with predominantly CBD businesses, for example, they've got a standard set of products generally, and for them, it's really it's a process of getting them comfortable in front of a camera, and in order to do that, we get them to do a couple of live recordings without actually going live. So it's getting them used to actually sitting there and speaking and being comfortable with sort of getting their words out of their mouth. And we give them a script, loose script, like, so start here, basically just a little script that they can follow, just to give them key pointers. And it's really about getting them used to that. And I think with other people, like if you're talking about entrepreneurs or somebody in somebody who's selling a course or somebody who's really branding themselves, that's more where this is relevant, where this question is relevant, where it's like, how do you find your authentic self? And really, I don't have a degree in psychology or anything like that. Like, I think that's really up to the individual themselves. Like for example, as a marketing agent at Icarus Digital Marketing, all we can do is we can edit videos and sparkle and put graphics, and we can distribute on social media and do your hashtags and make sure that we can do all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, for this to all work is all dependent on you. It's all dependent on that person being authentic, being real. And so if that person doesn't know who they are and they're copying somebody else, I mean, there's not much that we can do with that if they haven't done that themselves. So again, it comes down to your barrier to success with value-based branding. Again, it's really yourself. And you might find people that are just genuinely like Gary Vee, for example. They just cuss a lot, and they're high, and that's fine. They'll find their audience. But you'll know like we'll know pretty soon, like, because I'll talk to these people one-to-one, and I'll have a relationship, I'll know who they are, and then they send me the video that they did, and I'm like, holy crap, who is this person? You know, it's like, just be yourself. Like, just, it doesn't matter if because in their head they're doubting themselves, and like I said before, it's like they feel like they have to be Gary Vee, or they have to be where they don't. If they're just themselves, then they'll find their audience based on themselves, and they'll be much happier and much more comfortable and enjoy the process much more if they're just themselves.
Yeah, and that is a great point. I mean, and it does show, because I know when I look, and I know I'm coming from a different vantage point, because coming from a marketer, I'm looking for marketing components. But I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't seem like this is him. It looks like he's trying to be somebody else. And, you know, that's a hard thing, especially, like I said, when you're chasing Amazon. I mean, when you're out there looking at what you've seen as success, and you're saying, well, I want to do what they did to be successful. It's hard, because there's a lot of components you might not know about. There's a lot of things in the mix that you haven't factored in, and you think it's just this one thing. So, you know, the key is just starting, just getting on camera, just doing it, putting it out, testing it. What works, keep. What doesn't work, just modify it and keep moving. Yeah, especially if you can do it for pennies on the dollar in advertisement. I mean, that helps.
A lot of people don't realize that as well. Like, when you are, if you're, like I said, in the strategy, the paid strategy, if you're running for video views, you can get video views for nothing on Facebook. And so just throw your value out there, run some $20 on it for a week, and see what happens. And trust me, you'll be surprised the results of that. You know, because we're not selling a product here. We're not going for conversions. That we're just going for the views, and Facebook gives you views practically for free. You know, so you're talking thousands of targeted eyeballs on your value, right? So I mean, it's just it's gold, and I think people really need to understand this strategy is simple, but like you said, it's not easy, right? Because we break it down. It all depends ultimately on you and your value, and if you understand it and you can bring that message across. As long as you have that, and you follow the simple steps, then it's easy. And there's also another huge opportunity, and I'm sure you're aware of it, on social media today, and that's TikTok. And TikTok is really exploding right now. Like, it is huge. It's like Instagram in 2013, 14, right? Where it was just like humongous. It was just growing everywhere. Yeah. So, but the difference is this opportunity on TikTok. People are now going into TikTok, and they're seeing these kids doing their dances and doing their videos, and they're like, oh my God, how can I make this work for me? It's not relevant, but it doesn't have to be. Again, it's like, stop looking at what everyone else is doing and just do you. And eventually your audience will come to you. You know, that's just the way social media works. And people need to get out of their heads and stop comparing themselves to other people and just do you, right? Whether that sucks or it doesn't, eventually your audience will find you, you know?
I'm guilty on the TikTok thing. I still haven't got the grasp of that. I took them down, but the only TikToks was my little one had me doing, what was that? Some dance. And it was horrible. It was horrible. But I still haven't figured that out. But I have been hearing more and more about TikTok being the next thing.
Yeah, it is. And if I would say to anybody listening or watching, you know, if you have a business, or, you know, you have something that you're thinking of doing, get on TikTok now, because it is the Wild West of social media networks. I mean, you can go viral there's no hashtag strategy. There's no, you know, I'll tell you myself, my 10-year-old kid made a video. He was playing with my phone. He knows that I'm in social media. He messes with all the platforms, and he did a video of me on my phone saying something. He told me to say a word, and then he reversed it with this app so that it came out as some cuss word, right? And he thought that was
my little one got that same app. She would like text me, and I text her, and then she some way, and then she showed it to me. I was like, what? what? I didn't say that. Yeah, I know what you're talking, the app you're talking about.
Yeah, and so that video went up. He posted it, and like I would say 15 minutes later, my phone was buzzing. I was like, "What's going on?" And I looked, and it was TikTok notifications. And I checked my phone, and I had 20,000 views on this video and 1,000 likes and all these messages. I was like, "Holy goddamn!" I just went viral on TikTok. You know, without even trying. You know, so that woke me up. I was like, "Well, this is real." And we need to apply this to our business, to our services, and we need to figure this out. And right now, with all the testing we're doing, it is gold. So my advice to anyone out there is like, get on TikTok, whether you know what you're doing or not. Just put stuff out there and grow your profile, because you have the opportunity to build a digital asset there, which in 2 or 3 years' time. Imagine now if you had an Instagram profile with 500,000 followers, right? That's potentially what you can do now on TikTok at this early stage. So if you get on there, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, be a middle-aged man on TikTok like me, and just your audience will find you. You don't need to do funny videos or dance around or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just apply it to what makes sense for you.
And those challenges are really blowing up on TikTok. I mean, it's like, if you can decide develop a challenge of some sort, it really blows up. I was calling myself showing my little one this magic challenge or something. Yeah. And I was like, look, and she was like, yeah, he's going to put his thumb in the back of the cup. It's a hole in the back. I was like, what? I've seen it. I was like, wow, this, you know, it's amazing. So yeah, if you can find something that's just exciting, and please don't get caught up in trying to recreate some of the effects that they have, because TikTok has some effects that are incredible. I don't know how they do.
Yeah, you'll just, when you get into that situation, you end up in perfection paralysis. So you're trying to get it to work, and in the end you do nothing, because like, oh, I can't get the effect to work. I was like, just forget it. Just do what you can do and leave it there, you know?
My advice on that: record it and give it to your kid.
Yeah.
They'll get all the effects out the way. You just record whatever the video is.
Exactly.
So cool. Well, Simon, thanks again for all the advice. If someone was to come to you and or they need to find that voice, find that strategy, go ahead and become value-based with their social media, how can they reach out to you?
Well, they can reach out to me at icarusdigitalmarketing.com. It's our website there. You can also search for me personally on social media. All my profiles on Instagram, Twitter, they're all Simon Jordan. So you type that in, you'll find me, and Icarus Digital Marketing. So if anyone wants any advice, we do free consultations with everybody. We don't we don't charge for any of that. So, and we just lay out people a marketing plan, and if they want to go with us, they can, and if they want to do it by themselves, they can too. So we're happy to help.
Okay, great. And I'll put that information also in the notes, so you can reach out. But the key is to just go ahead, fire up the camera, start recording, put it out there, and just start putting out value.
That's it.
Don't overthink it. So that's our advice for you today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and you've learned as much as I have in this actual session. And if you have any comments, please put them in. Any questions, please put them in. And I challenge you to name the 3 things, the 3 strategies that Simon gave you today in the comments, because he actually gave you 3 strategies. I don't know if y'all caught it. I want to see if you did. All right. Well, everybody.